You're about to discover something most people don't know about money. At first it might be shocking, but you need to know the truth. Ever wondered how our modern currency came to be? What if I told you it's a far cry from the real essence of wealth? Let's take a stroll down memory lane. Our story begins in the aftermath of World War II. The world was in ruins and needed a new financial system to kickstart the global economy. Enter the Bretton Woods system. At a conference held in New Hampshire, the world's major economies agreed upon a system that would set the stage for the next 7 decades of global commerce. The US dollar, backed by gold, was chosen to be the global reserve currency. Every other currency was pegged to the dollar, and the dollar was pegged to gold. In essence, the world was on a gold standard, but indirectly through the US dollar. This is how the US dollar, once a symbol of tangible wealth, became the world's reserve currency. The evolution of currency didn't stop at Bretton Woods. In fact, it was just the beginning. Post-World War II, the US dollar became the global reserve currency, backed by gold. However, as the decades wore on, other nations began to worry. The United States expenditure was growing, but its gold reserves were not. This imbalance sparked a global concern. Countries started questioning the sustainability of a system where every currency was backed by the dollar, and the dollar was backed by a finite amount of gold. The pressure was mounting, and something had to give. This led to a gradual shift from a gold-backed dollar to a fiat currency system, a system where money is not backed by a physical commodity. As the gold reserves waned, a new form of currency was on the horizon. A currency backed not by gold, but by trust. The trust in the government that issues it. In 1971, President Nixon made a decision that would change the world's financial system forever. Against the backdrop of rising global apprehension over the United States' dwindling gold reserves and escalating expenditure, he decided to take a bold step. This is what President Nixon said on August 15, 1971. I have directed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interests of the United States. The statement above is also known as the Nixon shock. He suspended the gold standard, a system that had long been the bedrock of global finance, dictating that every US dollar be backed by an equivalent value in gold. Note this. President Nixon pointed out that the suspension of the gold standard was temporary. As of today, decades later, the gold standard is still suspended. But let's move on to see what this all meant to the world. Nixon's move was revolutionary, effectively transforming the US dollar, and by extension other global currencies, into fiat money. This new form of money was no longer backed by tangible assets such as gold, but solely by government promises. It was a leap of faith into uncharted territory, a shift from intrinsic value to perceived value. Basically, our currency has only the value our government says it does. There's nothing physical like gold or silver to back up the promises, only faith. With a single declaration, Nixon ushered in this era of faith-backed fiat currency. So what does it mean to live in a world where money is no longer tied to tangible assets? Well, it's a world where money, in essence, is a concept. It's based on a shared belief in its value, rather than a physical commodity like gold. When you see that dollar, pound, euro, yen, peso, or any other paper bill in your wallet, it's just a piece of paper. Its worth comes from the promise that it can be exchanged for goods and services, a promise enforced by government decree and public confidence. In this fiat world, money can be created out of thin air, simply by a decision of the central banks. This has its benefits, such as the flexibility to respond to economic shifts, but it also comes with risks. It means that our economies are more susceptible to inflation, to boom and bust cycles. Fiat currency, while convenient, places an unprecedented amount of trust and power in the hands of governments. After the gold standard was removed, governments could start legally printing endless amounts of paper and digital money. All they needed to do was to tell people that the piece of paper they printed out or digits in their bank account, call it a dollar or any other currency, could buy items. Let me ask you a question. What do you suppose happens when there is an unlimited amount of money you can print without anything backing it? Here's what happens. A government prints money non-stop, and the value of each dollar, euro, or yen starts to drop. This phenomenon, known as inflation, means that prices for everything from bread to rent start climbing up, but the value of your currency goes down. But here's the catch. While prices are on the rise, salaries often don't keep pace. The result, the money you earn buys less and less over time. This isn't just theory, it's the harsh reality of our unbalanced financial system that's run by our governments and central banks. Basically, this all comes down to one thing. The more currency there is in circulation, the less each unit of that currency is worth. This phenomenon is a key characteristic of fiat money systems. If you still don't believe this, just take a moment to look back, and you'll notice that just 2, 5, or 10 years ago, the same amount of money in your pocket could buy much more than it does today. And here's another interesting thing. Over the centuries, there have been thousands of fiat currencies. How many of those fiat currencies do you think have survived? The answer is grim: none. Every single fiat currency in history has failed, and they have failed because eventually their function as a store of value has ceased. In the world of fiat currency, it's crucial to understand the difference between currency and real wealth. Currency, as we now know it, is not backed by any physical commodity. It's essentially a promise from the government, a piece of paper or digital entry that has value because we collectively agree it does. But what happens when that trust erodes? That's where wealth comes into play. Real wealth is tangible. It's assets like gold and silver, property or investments that can hold their value over time, regardless of what happens to the currency. These assets have intrinsic value. Their worth isn't just a promise, it's tangible and real. Just let me ask you this. Can you print more gold or silver? Can you take gold, put it in a printer, and print out an unlimited amount of it? You can't, and that's why its store of value will always remain. Before we end this video, I'd like to point out something you need to pay attention to. Most politicians and decision makers either don't truly understand our current financial system, or then they choose to ignore its pitfalls. They're content with endlessly printing more paper money, declaring it legal tender, without backing it with real value like gold. This approach separates our currency from anything of genuine value, leading to significant economic problems globally due to the absence of tangible backing. That's why I recommend doing your own research about the current financial system instead of blindly trusting entities who say everything is under control. Remember, there are no fiat currencies in the history that ever survived, and honestly, if you look at our world today, we see history repeating itself. If nothing revolutionary happens, it's only a matter of time when dollar, pound, yen, and other currencies are going to collapse. Understanding the evolution from gold to fiat currency is crucial so you can make better decisions about your future. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informational, hit the like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Until next time, keep questioning.